Hey, welcome back to the channel. If you haven't done so, why don't you hit the subscribe button for us? It does help us out. In today's video, we're going to look at a common problem with some of the original Xbox Ones. A lot of times I'll get them into the shop and people will say they are either randomly turning off or they won't start, they won't run. A lot of issues related to power. And what we've been finding out is it's actually the power brick. Sometimes it can be saved, sometimes not. But in today's video, we're going to look at inside the power brick and see what we can do to save it. So stick around, we'll show you how to get it done. Hey, welcome back. Today on the bench, we have a original Xbox One. I decided to do a video on this because I'm seeing it more and more. I get messages from customers saying that their Xbox One shuts down or is doing weird things. And the reality is, it's this guy here. More and more I'm seeing these power supplies fail. They do have a small light on the side that kind of tell you the condition that they're in. And this one came to me. If we flip it around so we can see it, if we plug it in, we do get our light. So we get an orange light, as you can see here. But as soon as we plug it into the Xbox, it goes out actually. So some of these, what it should be doing is turning to a white light, seeing that it's acknowledging that it sees the Xbox. So I've repaired quite a few of these, and what it seems like what's happening is there's a set of capacitors in here that are going bad. So let's go ahead and take this one apart. Now, I will say this, these do take a while to discharge. So you shouldn't just go straight at it because you might open it up even though it's unplugged and you'll get a zap. So I'll be right back. We'll start taking it apart. Okay, so here's our power supply. And these have 4 screws under the feet. Now these feet are rubber and plastic. The easiest way I've found to get into them, if you come in at the edge and just start prying up on them, a lot of times you just rip the plastic or the rubber foot off. There's a hole straight into the middle. So if you take something pointy, jab it in, and kind of wiggle it sideways, it'll come out. Yeah, it leaves a little mark in the foot, but they're still completely usable afterward. Now, these also use the security Torx bits. And it's not our game size one, it's a little bit bigger. And as I recall, let's see if I can see a number on this particular one. This is a T10 security bit. Yeah, that's the one that fits it. In the shop, I just remember the blue handle. Because they also have one over there with a green handle. I think that one's a number 9. And this one's a number 8. Looks like the top of this screw might be a little messed up. All right, we'll be right back. The top of that one's damaged, so I'm gonna get it out and we'll rejoin you. Okay, so we got the screw out. It was just deformed. I think, you know, maybe at the factory, whenever it was being put together, it just got hit. Because there's no way this little tip messed up that, you know, one of these screws. So with those screws out, you can just wiggle it apart. It should come apart. There we go. Set that aside. This is our little indicator for our LEDs. Looks like a little plastic is melted. There we go. And up inside of here, there's a fan to keep it cool. Now, needless to say, you need to have this all unplugged when you open it up. There we go. This clip just pulls out. Let me set that aside. Okay. Now what I have found, wow, this one's really gooped up, which is why it didn't want to come apart. What I have found, that these caps go bad. But this big one could have given out too. So before we get too crazy, gotta make sure this thing's discharged. Okay, on this particular one, and several of the others, they have the backs soldered down. You can use some braid to take it off, or you can just heat it and pull it away. There we go. That one's being stubborn. Oh well. Now that both of these tabs have been, well, that one didn't get desoldered the whole way. Okay, there we go. We can pull away the heat sink and take a peek at what we got. This is absolutely the most glue I've seen in one of these. Normally they come apart a little easier. All right, so what we need to do is verify that these caps are discharged. So they're right across here. And, you know, we can, there's a couple ways of doing it. But the easiest way is just short across them. We don't have any sparks, which is good. There's that big one. It's under here. We did get a zap on that one. All right, and that's what I'm talking about. And this power supply is not even working well. So, you know, you want to make sure, especially when working on some of the bigger stuff, that you get this really discharged. So that big one's actually holding some power. And the smaller ones weren't. Okay, so what I'm doing now is just looking for any signs that there could be a larger problem. You know, burnout, IC chips, blown resistors, blown diodes, anything like that. Take the rest of these rubber pieces off. Okay, there's no physical damage on anything. Yeah, here's why we couldn't get into it. You know, why it didn't just pull apart. I just got so much of this resin in there. Okay, so what we're going to go ahead and do, these guys are usually fine. There's some dust in here, but it's not bad. We're just going to go ahead and replace these ones. They're not bulged. Several of them I worked on, you can actually see the tops of them bulge out. So we're going to replace them and see what they look like. This glue is going to make it hard. I'm going to do a little cleanup work so we can get to them, and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. What I wound up doing, instead of trying to clean it all away, I used a chisel tip on a hobby knife, and I just kind of separated them out. So now these caps, we can desolder them and hopefully deal with them a little easier. So I'm just going to use a standard desoldering pump. Working with lead-free solders, we've got to turn our heat up a bit. And sometimes adding leaded solder helps get things moving. There we go. Okay. Make sure those legs are up. And our cap is out. And we can see our board's marked for negative. So we're just going to set that one aside for now. Let's get these other two out. Looks like it's these ones right here. So let's go ahead and put a little fresh solder on them. Leaded solder, I should say. Okay, that should help. Okay. Looks like we still have just a touch of solder on that one. We can pull it out though. There we go. These caps are out. So, what's that? We can actually check these caps. We've got a whole bunch of new ones here. So let's just go ahead and bring in our ESR meter. We'll get a reference on these. You have to ground out the electrodes. We'll hit 0. 0. There we go. Showing 0.051 ohms on the new cap. showing 0 ohms. I think they're totally shorted. Which is probably why, yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and put these new, all right, so let's go ahead and put some new caps in this board. So we can see that they're marked the negative side. Now you can use different voltage capacitors as long as they're the same voltage or higher. And you can use a slightly higher capacitance. What I wind up doing is just using the same on all these ones. Just push them up, bend the legs to the side. Trim the legs with some flush cutters. Okay. And let's put this one more cap in. Polarity is needed, so make sure you do it the right way. Now this is just, obviously we did no troubleshooting. We didn't look for anything. This is just from experience. I've fixed, I don't know, 4 or 5 of them just in the past week or so, replacing these same 3 caps. A couple of them, they were very bulged and obviously destroyed. This big one's not bulged out. So we're going to go ahead and just assume that we're good there. So let's just give her a test. We can't really run her up. You got to be very careful when turning on a power supply open like this. We've got our lights here. Maybe I'll stand it up on end so we can see our LEDs. I'm going to grab our Xbox again. We're not plugged in yet, so we can actually grab the connector and make sure we're plugged in. Make sure nothing's going to touch. Okay, we've got our orange lights. Let's go ahead and gently plug this in. See if it turns to white. There's our white light. And we're coming back to life. All right, I'm going to break this down, discharge the caps, and reassemble. I'll be right back. Okay, we got our power supply button back up. We've got our orange light. We have a monitor. Let's go ahead and, let's see, input. Oh, we passed it. HDMI 1 is what we're looking for. There we go. We've got our HDMI plugged in. Plug in our power. Our power supply goes to white. I can hear the fan running. And this is the controller that came with it, so it may not be synced, but we got a white light. Let's see if we get any signal coming through. That looks promising. So there we go. And as you can see, these are the culprits. Now, just to make life easy, I wind up buying all the same cap. These are 16 volt, 2200 farad. This one's only a 1500 microfarad, sorry. And these caps I've been replacing them with are the 2200 16 volt. And that's really all it takes. You know, like I was saying a little earlier, a lot of times when you got these caps, you'll see the tops blown out. You know, they'll be bulged, they'll show signs of distress. But, you know, sometimes they just give up. They overheat, they short out, and they cause us problems. And in this case, the only way I knew that those are our problem, even though they weren't showing signs, is because I've done several of them. So, if you've got an original Xbox, and you have a power supply, an original power supply, not one of the aftermarket ones, that's giving you problems, you know, don't toss it. These guys are only a couple dollars a piece, and it's pretty quick and pretty simple to fix. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or comments, why don't you go ahead and put them down below. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, please subscribe and give us a thumbs up while you're at it. I'll catch you on the next video. Thanks.